Hold ye! O4 is coming. Cheap O3 units. Panic now. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello, it's another live stream and my cup of tea has arrived. Good timing. On the nail. I think we'll start this one again. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yes, it is Sunday night and it is time for another live stream. This week, we are going to talk about the fact that DJI O3 is on sale. But don't read too much into that yet. From what I understand, O4 is not coming anytime soon. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We will talk about the Neo a little bit and the what appears to be called the Goggles N3, which will be, as far as we understand, or I understand, I should say, a box goggle from DJI with a single LCD display for use with the new Neo drone, and what that will mean for FPV, and what sort of price point, I wonder, what DJI will be aiming for with a box goggle. First time since they released their original goggles, I will add as well. We're going to talk about OpenIPC a little bit. I have the Mario board, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that and the latency testing and where I'm at on the testing and why you haven't got a video from me yet. And it's no bad. It's nothing bad. It's nothing terrible. It's just that I can't sit here and do a video and say, hey, there you go, this is what it looks like. Here's wave my hand in front of a screen and say, hey, there you go, it looks like it's okay. There's a lot to understand. There's a lot of learning, a lot of testing, a lot of playing before we'll get to where I'm ready to put a video out about it. And we'll talk about anything else that comes up along the way as well. Now, I hope you are all safe and well. I hope you are good. I'm just going to catch up on the chat. Let me just get it to where it should be. Hello, hello, hello. 2 seconds. Hello, James. Hello, you. How I lost my hair. Age and stress is the term I'll use. Hello, Brandon. How are you? Will from Mexico. Hello, John W. How are you? James. Hello to everyone here. I'm not going to get through everyone, but hello, hello, hello. So, I hope you're all good. It has been an incredibly busy week for me. A little bit too busy in the evenings as well for my liking. That there is so much testing I've been doing at the moment, and I'm trying to get it done. So much going on. So much going on. And it's really interesting times. But with anything like this, comes a lot of testing and understanding, and that's the position we're at with a lot of this today. Now, this week, it is interesting that we have seen some discounts on DJI O3. Just hop into the desktop view, and I need to adjust my camera position because I was recording something and I moved my camera. On the DJI side of things, we have seen some discounts appear on many O3 related products, which is quite interesting. And if we look on Flywheel, you can see that they've discounted pretty much anything O3 related. And this has obviously added a huge amount of speculation, a huge amount of interest from people going, O4 is coming, get ready, get ready. Well, what I can tell you is this. Nothing has really changed today with regards to O4 as far as I understand it. I think it's still 4 to 6 months out. It isn't, though, particularly surprising that DJI is discounting this early. They do tend to discount very early before a product replacement, often as much as 6 months in advance. What I will say, though, is don't expect an O4 Air unit to drop anytime soon. Okay? Just it's not... I still think we could be talking May or June at this rate. Maybe April next year. O4 test units being showed over Instagram. I will be astonished if they are, but should we have a look on Instagram? Because as far as I'm aware, there's not even hardware out there yet. So let's have a look on Instagram, shall we? Be careful what is fake. Be careful what is true. Because as far as I'm aware, it doesn't even exist properly yet. So someone has put a tag in, hashtag O4 Air unit. Let's try that, shall we? Hashtag O4. And it doesn't come up with anything. Why is it not? No results for O4 Air unit. So, not seeing anything. Fewer than 100 posts, tags. I can't even find anything for O4 Air units. Let's try this. Be interesting to see if anything exists. Good point. Have I actually put a 0? I think I have as well. Fewer than 100 posts. Yeah, I did. I put a 0. I can tell you now it's not even in testers' hands. It really does not exist today. What is it with Instagram? It won't show it to me. Why won't it show me? I hate Instagram. I never use it. For me. Fewer than 100 posts. Then show it to me. Why is it not showing it to me? Oh, it will not show me what I'm searching of. I get 8 and they look like Avatar 2 vids. Yeah. It'll be people faking it. It will be people faking it. As far as I'm aware, 0 equals fewer than 100. Yeah. As far as all of the information I have is it doesn't exist today. It's still well out from here. Also, don't, as I've said before, please just don't expect you're gonna have exactly the same as the Avatar 2. It doesn't mean it is. We don't know what DJI's plans are. We don't know what their plan is for the camera. We don't know. You know, actually, what's quite interesting is there's been a lot of people sort of, oh, yeah, we're going to have 1-inch GoPros and DJI Action 5s, I think we're talking at now. And the truth of the matter is, it ain't coming. It is looking like they're nowhere near that size. You know, we've got, in the Avatar 2, we've got a 1/1.3 sensor. So it's not 1 inch, it's 1/1.3. But, there's a lot of people expecting the new GoPros, the new things. Look, I can tell you now, O4 is not a priority for DJI. It just isn't. It really, really isn't. And it is well behind everything else. Well behind everything else. Now, what we do know is that DJI is working on the Neo. So there's been a lot more leaks on the Neo this week. If I go on to X, there was a lot more leaks happening on the DJI Neo. It didn't launch when everyone thought it would. Everyone was saying, oh, it's going to launch last week. Best Buy, our understanding is it's been delayed. You know, Best Buy have even put one in a cabinet by the look of it. Now, the Neo is the Avata Mini, is the term I'll use. It is coming. What we haven't seen still yet is the FCC for the new goggles. It looks like the new goggles are going to be called the DJI Goggles N3. They are going to be a single display goggle. Not a tiny whoop. It is certainly not a tiny whoop in size. If you look at it, handheld there, that's about the size it's looking at. This is a very cheap entry-level drone stroke FPV drone. It's going to be supplied from the looks of it with the original DJI remotes, but it will also work with the FPV Goggles 3 and the FPV Remote 3, but also the Goggles N3 when they release. We're just waiting on the FCC to land on these new goggles. At the moment, they're shipping it with the RCN3, which is their standard remote. It's a cross between an Avata 2 and a DJI Spark, for those who remember the DJI Spark, and somewhat the DJI Tello as well. It's a bit of a mix of all of them. This is not a drone for us. This is a drone for entry-level FPV, for people wanting... The Avata 2 isn't even a drone for us. Don't even think the Avata 2 is, because it's a horrible thing. From an FPV perspective. But yeah, it's coming. We've just got to wait and see. It very much is a cross between the Spark and an Avata 2. It is largely based on Avata 2, smaller camera as we understand it, but it's still based on O4, still based on the Eagle 3 chipset, we guess. But yeah, it's a product to get new people into FPV, and then there will be a new budget goggle to come with it. We just don't know what that's going to cost. And that's going to be the more interesting thing today, is what DJI are going to charge for this budget goggle. I think it's like $300, this thing, the price estimate's been, as I understand it. It will fly acro, I believe, with the manual controls, but not on the RCN1. I don't think it will with that remote, but I think it will with the FPV remote. I bet DJI will make you buy the FPV remote to do it. But this is about getting new people into FPV. That's what this is about. It's not going to have the same camera as the Avata 2. It's going to be, you know, it's a cutback, cheaper, smaller in every way. The label we always had for it was the Avata 2 Mini. What we don't know, though, is what DJI are going to charge for the goggles. And they definitely seem... Will 04 work with goggles too? We don't know with the ear unit. We guess DJI will bring support, but we don't know. Can it work? Yes. Will it work? Who knows? You know, you're into the territory of now what DJI will and will not allow is where we're at. And this is the thing. You know, the goggles 2 and Integra are O3 based, but it doesn't mean they're not compatible with O4. But an 04 ear unit is not going to have the same features on the goggles 2 or Integra. You won't have the new higher bandwidth modes, and you won't have all of the same features. Will we have the Vista forever and ever and ever? I suspect it will die when 04 comes out. I'm still shocked it's in existence today. Goggles 2 versus Goggles 3 for 03. Choose the Goggles Integra. There are fairly very solid reports of issues with the Goggles 3 and the O3 ear unit. I've not seen enough of these to be absolutely sure, but there is definitely reports of crashing, and there are reports of people not having as good signal performance. Now, I don't fully buy into the signal performance. There's technically no reason it will be any worse at all. Just no reason. It's identical RF hardware other than the chipset. What I do believe is DJI probably have some work to do on the Goggles software. A little bit. It does seem that the Goggles 3 are crashing a little bit here and there. Today, by far, the best choice of goggle on the DJI is the Enquiries, because they are almost certainly going to get O4 support. Almost certainly support more than anything else out there today. Goggles 2 and Enquiries are by far the best goggle to buy in the DJI world today. End of. None. Have DJI been watching Cadex a little bit too closely? No, I think this is about a budget goggle. The real weird thing with the Enquiries was it really wasn't budget enough. It's a great buy for what you get, but it's not a budget goggle. The Enquiries is largely the good option because it doesn't have all of the Wi-Fi nonsense that you can't use anyway. You got to take into account half the functionality on the Goggles 2 doesn't work. The Wi-Fi and Bluetooth is a complete waste of time. And what DJI ended up doing with the Enquiries is releasing a goggle that has the features you actually need. It has the built-in GPS module for the guys using RID. It has all of the main functionality that you get on the Goggles 2 with very few downsides. The Goggles 2 were a terrible buy. They really were not great. They were a horribly compromised product that never fulfilled its capability. The wireless streaming basically doesn't work. There's lots of stuff on the goggles. It's almost like DJI had all these ideas and just never moved forward with them. But they do that they've done that so many times in the past. EMA FPV, why do you think you're in CE mode? Tell me what makes you think you're in CE mode. Isn't 2.4 and 5.1 gigs video feed potential plus for Goggles 3 Ondo 4? Goggles 2 do it already, unofficially. I have a video demonstrating this. In CE, the O3 and the Goggles 2 already go to 5.1 gigs. I have a video showing this. DJI introduced it very quietly in a firmware update. For those who don't know, this has been there for a very long time. Right, you don't see all of the channels. That doesn't mean you're in C mode. It just means, like, standard FCC mode on the Avata 2 doesn't give you all of the channels. The ham file hack will give you all of the channels. It doesn't mean you're in CE mode. It just means your official FCC mode only has one channel in 40 megahertz, 3 channels in 10 and 20 megahertz. Okay? Full unlock, ham file unlock, gives you 3 channels in 40 megahertz, 7 channels in 10 and 20 megahertz. You're still in FCC, you're just in FCC restricted channels. Using O3. Yeah, same in O3, exactly the same. Just apply the ham file and it'll give you the rest of the channels. You're in FCC power, it's just the ham file gives you the additional channels. Any ideas why I have to reboot my goggles all the time to get the touchpad to work? No, that's not normal. That's faulty. That's really not faulty. That's really faulty. Sorry, that's not normal at all. That's really not normal. Touchpad just works on the goggles. It's horrible to use, but it just works. Just remember, don't confuse CE mode with ham. In America, in FCC mode, you will have manual channel selection, but you will only have one channel available in 40 megahertz, 3 channels available in 10 and 20 megahertz. That is not CE, that is normal FCC mode. One channel in 40, 3 in 10 and 20. In CE mode, you will only have the same channels available, but you might not have manual channel selection and you will have a massively reduced output. In the UK and Europe, applying the ham file gives you both higher power and the additional channels. In FCC, applying the ham file gives you just the additional channels. So that is the difference. Controller 2 still has to be rebinded if you switch modes. O3, DJI FPV, Avata, Avista, ear unit. You shouldn't on the goggles 2, only on the V2s. Goggles 2. O3s, it shouldn't. It shouldn't. Yes, it might. Sorry, the remote might. Because, yes, on them it will, because the remote binds to the drones, not the goggles. DJI fixed that in the goggles 3 because it binds to the goggles, not the drone. There is definitely reports of crashing on the O3s, on the goggles 3. There's definite, but it's not widespread, and we don't know if these people have updated the firmware. We don't fully understand anything about it. Can DJI make the OG ear unit, which remains compatible with everything after 10 years? Yeah, ear scare. It's not a bug. It's inherent behavior of the V2 goggles. You will always have to rebind when switching modes on the V2 goggles. It's not a bug. It's the inherent design of how DJI made them work. The very basics are the way the DJI binding process works, okay? So, on the V2 goggles, the way the binding process works is the goggles generate an ID and then send that ID to the ear unit when binding. So when you say stick it in DIY FPV mode, you hit the bind button. If the goggles have never been bound to anything before, it will generate an ID and it will share that ID to the ear unit. And the ear unit accepts that ID, and all ear units with the same ID will connect to those goggles. The first thing to understand is that ID is always the same on those goggles. Every time, it's the same ID. Now, when you switch modes, DJI wipes the partition in the goggles that holds the ID. So when you switch back from, say, FPV to O3, DJI wipes the partition that holds the ID, and therefore you're no longer bound. Now, what the trick of this is if you have 5 FPV ear units which you've bound, so say 5 Vistas, they all work in DIY mode, you switch to O3 mode, and you have to rebind your O3. When you switch back, right, when you switch back, you will find your Vistas don't work. But you only have to rebind one of them. The reason is the goggles have lost their ID. When you rebind the first one, the goggles will create the ID again and give that to that Vista. But that ID will be the same ID it has always had. And as such, the other ear units which you bound in the past will just work because they already have that ID. The issue is that when you switch modes, and it's actually not the switching of the mode that erases the partition. You can actually switch from DIY to O3 and back without it stopping the binding. It is only when you rebind the O3 ear unit does it wipe the partition, create another ID for O3, and then wipes the other ID. What it isn't is the same ID between O3 and DIY FPV, so one overrides the other and as such causes the problems. But the quirk of it is you don't have to rebind every ear unit, you only ever have to rebind the one. Remember, when you are binding your remote, you're binding it to the ear unit, and the remote I think can only do up to 5, but again, when you're switching between the differences, it's the same problem. It is a horrible quirk of the way DJI designed the goggles, but the thing to understand is this. DJI never designed the V2 goggles really with the anticipation of all of this compatibility. What DJI have basically done is on the V2 goggles created 4 or 5 boot partitions for 4 or 5 different operating systems. Imagine it like having 5 partitions on your PC, one with Windows, one with Linux, one with Mac OS, one with Android, whatever you could do, okay? That is what they have done on the V2 goggles. And what you're doing is booting into a different partition, which is completely independent of the last one. The big change on the Goggles 2 was DJI completely rewrote the OS, and as such, they designed it in such a way that when switching between modes, the Goggles 2 won't need rebinding. Because the Goggles 2 doesn't have multiple OSs. You don't actually switch OS in the Goggles 2 when you switch modes. You only switch the mode it's looking to talk to on. And that's why if you notice when you change the mode on the Goggles 2 and Integra and Goggles 3, the goggles don't reboot. You just switch the mode that it wants to communicate in. Whereas DJI, when they designed the V2s, they never designed them really with enough memory, with enough to really do. How far they pushed the V2s is quite incredible, if I'm honest. There's enough physical storage for each of the partitions, and there are some shared libraries between them. They're not completely independent. There are shared libraries, but the binding process was all separate. Whereas they completely rewrote the OS. Yeah, the V2s were never designed to go as far as they did. Being honest, it's astonishing DJI pushed them as far as they did, but don't class it as a bug. It's not a bug. It is a quirk of the way they designed it. Now, there was a hack for FPV WTF that whilst it wouldn't save the O3 bindings, it would save the ear unit bindings and reapply them for you when you went back into that mode. I don't know, did that ever release? I know the guys did work on that, and there was a mod for, so you'd always have to rebind O3, but you'd never have to rebind your ear units, because when you switched back to DIY mode, it would re-add the binding phrase back for you. The easiest way to think about the binding phrase is like a MAC address. It's a permanent address of the goggles. Is the easiest way to think about it. But unfortunately, when you rebind in a different mode, it erases that part of the partition. The big problem was DJI didn't really put enough space in, being truthful. They just didn't put enough space. And the Goggles V2, my understanding is from the guys who hacked them, is an absolute crap show mess from a code point of view. The V2s, I mean, not the Goggles 2. The V2s was an absolute crap show from a software development point of view. It's been hacked to bits. And that's what's caused most of the issues. So, with regards to DJI today, we have some discounts on O3. It's down to $150 in the UK, which is good money, if I'm honest. It is decent money compared to where it's been, $150, $56. The only warning I am going to give you, though, is this. Be very careful buying DJI air units out of your country of origin. DJI do not offer a global warranty. As such, if you have a fault with the air unit, you will be required to ship it back to China at your own cost. DJI does not offer global warranty, and as such, you have to ship back to the country of origin, which is China. So this saving may not be worth it. Just take that into account. This has always been the case with DJI. It is nothing new. They have never offered a global warranty on any of their products. DJI know, based on the serial number, what country that product was designed for. This sale could, though, also be simply Flywoo just buying a bulk of them. So if I buy a bind and fly from China that has an O3, it will not be covered locally. Correct. You would be required. DJI would not even cover the O3 air unit in that case, Spang. DJI usually turn you away to your manufacturer. I think they probably overstocked, James. Agreed. I'm with you. I think they've probably overstocked. Or they've done a big purchase in from DJI. No, nothing to do with activated. Nothing to do with activated at all. DJI, based on the serial number, know what country of origin the product was destined for. This has always been the same with every DJI product, with every DJI drone. They know what country of origin that product was designed for. They will even know, based on the serial number, if that air unit was sold in bulk to be used in a bind and fly. The one thing you might need to be careful on with this is this could be from a batch that were sold at a discount to be used in bind and fly drones. And I would sort of compare that to, for those who've been in the computer industry, you used to be able to buy, I don't know if you see it so much these days, CPUs from the tray or retail boxed, right? So CPUs from the tray were OEM. It was a CPU only in a box, wasn't a manufacturer's box. It was just a CPU in a brown box, in some foam. And then you also had the retail versions, which usually came with a heatsink and fan. That was designed for the public consumption. But yeah, that's the sort of difference between this. Is something happening on the 1st of September with supply from China? I'm not aware of anything. Grey Arrows, how are you? Hope you're well, mate. Do you still use 2.4 in the gig? Do you still get 2.4 gigs video in the US with O3 and Goggles 3? O3 doesn't do 2.4 gigs video. O4 does. O3 doesn't do 2.4 gigs. O3 only does 5 gigs. Has the USA banned DJI? Not yet. And I think it's looking probably less and less likely by the second. Yeah, it depends what country you're in. A third of Flywoo stock already sold since I've been streaming. Yeah, look, it was worth highlighting for what it is. Okay. Now, if you've got any questions, put it in the chat before we move on. Next, we're going to be talking about Runcam. No, next we're going to talk about OpenIPC and then Runcam. That's the right way around to do it. Only 7 in stock, lol. Only 5 now. And no, I should have put a link in for this one. Yeah, yes, it's video feed, I guess, and remote. If you're using their remote, you would lose both. Because the remote doesn't connect to the O3 ear unit. The remote connects to the goggles. So if you're losing link, the thing to fully understand with Goggles 3 is there is no separate RC link. The RC is in combination with the video. If you lose video, you lose RC. Lose RC, you lose video. It's the same thing. The remote connects to the goggles connect to the ear unit. Goggles 3s, like, all I have seen is a few reports of people saying they're just getting blackouts. Total loss. So just be a little bit aware of it. They could be the absolute normal issues that everyone faces all of the time, and it's just being highlighted because we've got new firmware. The hard part to understand is there are always people who are posting, you know, my drone's flown away, I've had this problem, I've had that. Whenever you get new firmware, you get three things happen. The first thing that happens is everyone goes online and generally posts on my video saying, do the hacks still work? Bearing in mind that DJI has not cancelled any hacks ever after they've been released, I do always chuckle that people always ask, does the hack still work? Here's a piece of advice. Assume it does until I tell you it doesn't, because in no stage of DJI stopped the hacks working. So it's really simple. Keep it going. And you get people posting issues. Does it mean it's easier to lose a drone with Goggles 3? I can't confirm. All I can tell you is I've seen a number of posts of people saying they're having blackouts. There are always posts of issues. What I can't tell you is it any more than the existing system? It's hard to say. What I would just say is, yes, all of the hacks still work. What I would say is just be mindful a minute. But then you should always be mindful that you could lose the link. Always possible. Always possible. Always has been the case. Make sure you've got your backups in place. Okay. DJI, so if you're using, Ranieri, DJI O3 offers its own, DJI FPV offers its own control link as part of the system. You can choose to use the Goggles 3 with the FPV Remote 3 with O3, or the Goggles 2 with the FPV Remote 2 stroke Integras with O3. I do not recommend anyone ever uses DJI's remote systems. My advice is to get yourself a separate remote controller, a separate radio link that puts you in control. I do not advise anyone ever uses the DJI FPV remotes with a standalone FPV drone. There are elements of the way it works that are specifically designed for DJI's own system, and as a result of that, there are quirks that make it just not ideal. And the biggest of them is, if you lose the video signal, you lose the RC signal. What you don't have the option to do is this: punch out. So anyone who flies and sort of gets behind a tree or something that has, you know, you go behind something or something that you lose video or you're about to lose video, I always have an understanding of what is the simple way out. Oh, and a punch out will get you out of 99% of problems. Okay? A punch out will honestly recover so many issues. It really will. With the DJI remote, You just can't do that. Now, can you mitigate this? Yes. You can program Betaflight to have a 2-stage failsafe. And your stage 1 failsafe is drop your drone into, say, angle mode, pump the throttle to 1300, 1400 PWM. So, and then do that for 3 or 4 seconds. And then if the signal doesn't recover, then enter, say, landing failsafe, is what I would personally say you should also do. But there is also risks with that as well. I prefer my personal control option. But you set it to, self-level, tell it to punch the throttle, and then hopefully you'd have recovered video and control enough that you can then make a choice of what you want to do next. That is something that you absolutely need to do if you're using the DJI Link. But that's if you're flying where, look, I fly around a lot of beaches and rocks and sort of places where you will get like a momentary dropout behind something. I don't fly field. Yeah, and that's different. If you're flying in a field and you're not prepared to walk, it's not an issue. Just set it to drop. I'm really talking here for the people who are flying out a bit. Is there a way to disable remote ID in the Avata 2? No. No. As far as I'm aware, there is... Well, no. Not publicly. No. No way for you to disable remote ID. I don't know if Drone Hacks or the others have released anything. I don't believe they have. I don't believe there are hacks. What's on the Avata 2? Let's have a look. I don't believe... No. No, there isn't at this time. Will using DJI control on O3 allow DJI flight profiles on other drones? I don't quite get what you mean, but no. Simply land on a lake. Yeah. Recently switched to a box from the DJI remote, and it's just way easier to fly with the full-size gimbals. Yeah, 100%. The DJI remotes are far better. Far better. By far better. Okay, next we're going to move on and talk about this. Now, if you don't know what this is the Runcam Wi-Fi Link. But before we talk about this, and I will have a full video coming in the future, before we talk about that, I need to talk a bit about the project first, because you can't really talk about one without the other. And what I thought I'd do is, and I'm going to be talking about this in the video, is I'm going to give a very quick explainer on, for those who don't really understand, of what OpenIPC is. Because I think people need to understand. Bribed by OpenIPC, yeah, not a chance. Now, the easiest way for me to explain this, because there's a lot of confusion out there, and there is a lot of very technically interesting things about this, actually. And let me just grab this. So, the easiest way for me to explain it is with this, okay? So this is a CCTV camera. This is just a standard CCTV camera. And the very basics are, over the last sort of 5 to 10 years, CCTV manufacturers and various chipsets have come out for use on CCTV. And these chips basically have everything on board one chip. So this chip here is the SSC338Q by Star. And this chipset has MIPI interface, ISP for video image processing, H.264, H.265 encoding, network interface, SDIO interface for SD cards, UART. And basically, this chip has everything on board you need. And the real basics of what OpenIPC is these chips come with closed source firmware with a locked bootloader that you can't use. Think of that like BL Heli 32. It's the simplest term for me to use. OpenIPC is a project, and the biggest part of it is that it replaces the software on that IC, which is closed source, with open source software that not only allows this to work as it did before, but you can connect it up to some Wi-Fi adapters and then create an FPV system from it. Now, the first thing to understand about this is, whilst it is using a Wi-Fi adapter like this one here and this one here, okay, it isn't actually Wi-Fi. It is using the Wi-Fi adapter, but it isn't Wi-Fi in the same sense of like your home network works. Today, OpenIPC is actually streaming video one way. It is not a two-way link in the sense of there is link going down, packet retries being sent in the event of an issue. It is more like HD0 in the sense of it streams the video stream. It does have a two-way link, allowing it to send, say, telemetry data back, such as OSD. But what it doesn't have is that sort of what DJI and Avatar have, which is, oh, I've not got this packet. Oh, can you send it again? Latency goes up, but the image retains. And that is where the difference is. Now, today, OpenIPC, from an RF perspective, is very basic compared to the others, okay? So it doesn't have retransmits. It doesn't even have variable MCS rates as standard at the moment. So, for instance, on DJI, it might start in MCS 5 or 6, which gives it, like, massive bandwidth, 50 megabits a second, and as the signal goes down, it will drop the bandwidth, so 40 megahertz carrier, 20 megahertz carrier, 10 megahertz carrier. OpenIPC doesn't do that today. They are working on that, apparently, and there are going to be some ways about doing that, and you might even be able to manually change that in flight. Today, it's a fixed 20 megahertz carrier and fixed whatever the MCS rate is that you've set. So it's really, at the moment, sort of more like HD0 in that it is a streaming video, but it is a compressed video. It really sits between HD0 and DJI, is the simplest term to use on it. Now, it is very early doors. And the one thing to understand about it is the project consists of a number of projects within it. So you've got the main bit, which replaces the OS on the IC. You've got Majestic, which actually isn't open source, which handles the video encoding. And then the RF encoding is handled by WFB, which then is send it out over the Wi-Fi. Now, what's quite interesting about it is how it performs. Now, I'm in the middle of doing all of my testing on this at the moment, okay? There are elements of this that have frankly surprised me. The image quality is surprisingly good, shockingly good when it's all good, all looking nice, tidy and everything. Something that did surprise me, and someone asked up there, will you test how long the OpenIPC protocol needs to reconnect after signal loss? Right? I have already tested this, and it is near bloody instant. That I was expecting a lot more on this. I'm lucky. I have areas where I can test the system from the workshop to my house. I know exactly where O3 starts to break down, Avatar HD starts to break down. I live in a very thick stone-walled house, so I can go behind a wall and lose the signal. This is not remotely like O3, where it takes forever for the signal to come back. It was like that. The second it picked the image back up, it was like that. It is interesting, but be under no illusion. This is, I'd argue, my personal stance on this is pre-alpha state today. It is development. It is definitely making progress. There is loads of interesting stuff going on. But my class of classifications personally are, I called the Avatar HD system when it released alpha and told people not to buy it. This isn't at that stage yet. It's moving forward. We now have the VTX, which I'll talk about in a minute. And this isn't the only one. They have their own. But it is moving forward. Today, I think last week, someone's added Betaflight MSP OSD support. But there is coding needed. Not coding, that's not the right term. There is command line work needed to get some stuff working. It's really still in development. What is interesting, though, is how well bits of it I have seen so far do actually work. I'm not saying it's an O3 replacement today. If you're looking to replace Avatar HD and O3, this isn't for you, right? This isn't that. You're not going to be replacing everything on your system instantly with this. This is going to take time. But what it does offer is some very interesting options. With regards to the ground station, you have lots of options. You can watch it on your phone, or you can do what I've built here, is have a monstrosity like this, which is with a Radix 03W, which is mounted on HD0 goggles. This is a bit of a Frankenstein at the moment. I need a shorter cable for this as well. But you can do it onto there. Now, before I talk about this properly out in the real world in a video form, I am doing ridiculous amounts of testing on this at the moment. And some of the testing that I've done, I'm going to share with you next, is the latency, because I had a load of people ask me, what is the situation with latency? And the reality is this, right? So far, from what I've seen, is promising. I am still doing some tests, so none of this is 100% confirmed in the sense of there is more data to add to this for other display setups. But what I can share with you is the chart here. Now, I did post this on the community page yesterday, I think I did. And this is the testing that I've got so far on the HD0 goggles. And what I can say to you is I have seen sub 25 millisecond first pixel results with the OpenIPC DIY camera, and I'm still doing more tests on the Runcam because I was getting some strange results. I've seen average latency coming in at full frame to 42 and average first pixel at 33. This is set at 120 frames a second. This is on par with O3. It's not as low as Avatar HD. It is not as low as HD0, that's for sure. And it's not quite as low as O3 in its lowest modes. Remember, O3 is not 28. I've measured O3 more like 33. 33, 34. At times. But O3 does have a bit of a trick up its sleeve on it compared to the other systems, and O3 is synchronized. It has a form of frame synchronization. It is on par with the likes of O3 in the 60 frames a second modes. Those are the modes there. It's not quite at the lowest latency modes of O3, but it is on par with, if you're flying O3 in 60 frames a second, this is right up there. Now, I'm going to stress again, quad pilots looking to replace O3 and Avatar HD. Today, this isn't that, right? But this is more than interesting. More than interesting indeed of where it is today. Sub 50 is always, I still firmly believe, and I've said this many times, most pilots, 40 to 30 milliseconds are fine. 40 to 30 is absolutely fine for most people. For wing users, this is going to be no issues at all. But it isn't a bad result at all. Does this mean it can't? Can it go lower than this? Potentially, yes. There's no reason it can't. However, latency alone isn't the important factor. Latency is one element. I need to fully understand a lot of how the system behaves. I've done on most of my bench testing. I'm then moving on to flight testing, and only when I finished it all will I be sharing the video. Now, we do have the ear unit from Runcam, which I'll share with you a few thoughts on. There are some interesting things about this, and the first thing that's interesting is this. Runcam didn't make the Wi-Fi board. The Wi-Fi board that Runcam have chosen is an off-the-shelf board that you can buy on AliExpress. And the only reason I know this is I happened to buy 2 of them completely oblivious to this fact. And when they came in the day after these came in, I was like, oh, okay, it's the same board. So Runcam have chose to use an off-the-shelf board for the Wi-Fi functionality. This is why it's got this pretty horrible design with 2 posts for connecting and not 4. This is really a development board at this stage, if I'm honest. That's the better way to look at this. It's not a board. You know, this isn't a final finished end product. This is really development. What you've got is your main chipset on the bottom, your camera, which gets insanely hot. And you've then got your RF board on the top. There are some horrible design quirks about this board. The SD card slot is pointing inwards, so you have to separate the boards to get to it. But it's work in progress. It also has the noisiest fan, I think, in the world, or the cheapest fan in the world is the term I'll use, because it is, my God, does this fan make some noise. Also, they haven't put a heatsink on the OpenIPC chipset there, the Star chipset. I think that should have a heatsink on it. I've done some thermal testing, and that thing gets to like 80 plus degrees, so that needs a heatsink on board as well. But overall, it's a good start for an off-the-shelf DIY platform, basically. Someone said range of penetration tests. I'm not going to be doing out-and-out range tests because I live in the UK where it's only legal to fly 400 meters. With regards to penetration, I will be testing that, but it won't be as good as DJI or Avatar HD. Not today, because it doesn't have packet retries and it doesn't have the ability to request more data. So, yes, I have done that as well, CMAC. In my use, I have flipped the board. It is, you know, look, DJI and Avatar have packet retries. That is what makes their penetration work so well. This is just not going to until it gets that functionality. You know, the laws of physics apply. HD0 doesn't have as good penetration as DJI. That is because it doesn't have the ability to send the data again. What DJI do is give up latency for more penetration. HD0 gives up penetration for fixed latency. This sits somewhere in the middle of the two, and it is going to be interesting to see how it performs. Everything I've seen so far, though, has pleasantly surprised me on the bench and in my testing here. 400 foot, yes. No, 400 foot height. It's 400 meters line of sight. Yeah, the only thing is you could ADB the SD card. Yes, you can. It's just a bit quirky. It definitely needs a heatsink, though, on that IC. What I will say about the board is it's development as well. It's interesting that Runcam have chosen an off-the-shelf Wi-Fi adapter. That actually surprised me, that did. That really did That really did surprise me. I ordered 2 of these in for the DIY builds, and I was like, oh, okay. That's like the same board. It's like identical in every way. So, yeah, interesting. Interesting indeed. Now, you do also have the open... Oh, sorry, not that one. You do also have... Did they drill holes in the Wi-Fi board? Yes, it looks like they did. Because there's no holes in the original one. Yeah, it just looks like they've drilled holes in the board. You are correct. Yeah, it does. Nicely done, Runcam. But this is falling under their sort of what they're calling their development area. So I wish my other ones had shipped, because Runcam sent me this one, but I've already ordered another 2. And I could do with them coming, because at the moment I'm trying to do all of my bench testing before I do the aircraft testing, and that's what's sort of slowing me up at the moment. It's all very interesting. It remains to be seen, price-wise in the end, where this all ends up, because... Look, we all know Cadex have been driving the price down of Avatar HD. The Goggles L are incredible value, $199. You can get the Goggles L and a VTX for under $300. That is incredible money. So this is a lot cheaper than that. This is like $70. You can build a ground station for probably... Well, you can build a basic ground station for $40 or less. But there's a lot to understand. That's the question. How it behaves around other systems, the interference. It's got a 20 megs Wi-Fi OFDM style carrier. So it's going to overall be similar to the other systems. But because the thing to understand about it today is this as well. It doesn't even have preset FEC rates. You can change everything on this system. It is not mature. So you can choose what FEC rates you want for the error correction. Out the box is set to 8 out of 12. So you get 4 bits for error. You can set it to whatever you want, and it's going to affect the behavior of the link. It's hard to really say. Paul Robertson, nothing bigger BS clickbait. DJI is not selling their kit at a discount. Flywheel is. Yeah, it's available cheaper. So that's not clickbait. DJI O3 is on discount at Flywheel. I didn't say DJI. You've interpreted DJI. That's not my fault. You made that interpretation. What I wrote is DJI O3 Air Unit. What I actually wrote is DJI O3 Air Unit discounts 04 soon ? That is a factual statement. It's not my fault. You read into it the way you wanted to read into it. Read into it, I should say. I can't control what you think. And I have found that many people think stupid, as I have to ban them from the comments on my channel. Sorry, mate, but I didn't write the words global DJI sale on the Air Unit. If I'd have written global DJI sale on the Air Unit, then you may have had a point, but I didn't. Just catching down on the chat. Sorry, but I'm going to call out bullshit. What does OpenIPC breakup look like? It's more like DJI without focus mode. It's definitely more of a bigger breakdown is what it's like. It's not got focus mode yet. And again, this is why I say development, because there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of talk. It's a bit different. It's a bit different. It's not like O3. It's more like the original system. Receiver, goggle side, I'm using a Radix Zero. There's no off-the-shelf receivers yet. But that'll probably come. What I would say is I can see a lot of Wing users being very interested. Maybe quad users. I think it's early days. Yeah, you got to look. We got to even understand the reliability. Look, we talked earlier about DJI O3 with random sets of goggles having yes, Redux Zero connected to HD Zero goggles. Yes, that's what I've got at the moment. So that's what that is. That is what that is. A Redux Zero in a box connected to HD Zero goggles. It's a bit of a lump. But earlier, look, we were talking about DJI O3 having random breakups, okay? Random crashes. These are like 1 in 1,000 flights. We don't even know what it's capable of yet. What about the output power? Output power is dependent on the Wi-Fi module. I think these are 26 dBm. So the power is based on the Wi-Fi module. So whatever the Wi-Fi module you choose is what the power is based on. Just a small token of appreciation. Thank you, Eroski, for the $10. That's appreciated. I need to catch up on the super chats, which I will do in a minute, because there has been others coming in as well. So I will go through them all in a minute. Thank you for that. Yes, it can record the footage. The Redaxer can record on board as well. Haven't tried. Well, I've tried it, but I haven't looked at the video yet. So yeah. But look, it's early days. I'm not going to rush out to put... What I am going to say is this, right? I'm not going to rush out to do a bench video of me sitting here going, hey, here is this, wave my hand in front of the camera and tell you that the latency doesn't look very good, or I think it looks okay, or this or that. I need to be able to give you a full view of what the system is like, and then we will be able to share sort of a perception of where it's at today. And actually, I think there's a lot of promise. There are question marks over various things, and it's still very development today, but it is definitely it's definitely working. It definitely, yeah, it will go in the back of a bigger frame. But look, everything is still quite code-based, is the term I'll use. Similar to the headgear in Deja Vu. Okay, so that's where we're at today. I thought I'd share sort of a bit of an update with you. It's going to be a little bit of time before I have a full video out. That's the situation as we are here. Now, I'm going to catch up on the super chats first of all, and then I'll take any further questions. What's up, as always? Thank you, my friend, for the £5. Marcus, thank you for 99 euros. 99 cent in euros. Twice. I should say, with the 2 funny images. And here Scares, you said, thank you for the £10. I really appreciate it, my friend. Now, there's 375. Don't forget to give the stream a like. I would appreciate it as we move through. Now, really, that's the topics I've got for today, because there's basically nothing else I can talk about. Something I did see earlier, which I thought was quite interesting, was this on Flywoo. These are quite good for the money. Look at these gates from Flywoo for Whoops. £26. They're really quite good money. With LED kits. I'm going to order one of them in. That looks a great deal. That looks really cool. I wouldn't mind... Have they got any other gates? Let's just have a look at these, because I wouldn't mind some for the garden. Ah, there we go. They got the squares as well. Do you know what? I hate these bloody Chinese websites with their bloody pop-ups. How big is that? Let's have a look, shall we? Look at these. So, inner diameter is 47 centimeters on the square. They look all right, don't they? You're just going to need something to hold them up. Have they got base plate options for them as well, or is it... No, it's just a... Yeah, stands is the issue, isn't it? I think that's quite good. That looks quite cool. There you go. There's the size in there. 3D print them. Yeah. You just want something to hold them up. Shouldn't be too hard, though, should it? Just some plastic piping in it, really, more than anything. Quite cool for the price. Broomstick or something, yeah. So there you go. There's the LEDs that go around. Do Whoop batteries power it? No, it looks like it's a bigger LiPo. $4S battery. $2S battery. $4S battery. Okay. What do they say on the specification? $2 to $4S. There you go. I'm going to order in a couple of sets of them. That's quite cool. I really do like this. So you can get inner and outer ring. Do the gates... here's interesting. So do the gates come with the LEDs or not? Because that's not clear to me. Do they come with the LEDs? No, they don't. So the LEDs... that's not that cheap. No, $26. I thought they came with the LEDs for that. That's a bit of a disappointment. Sorry, I'm not looking at the chat. I thought they were quite interesting when I looked at it. Just reading down. OpenIPC should send a unit to Giant Ant and Cowboy. I think, look, when it comes to out-and-out range, there's technically no limit on this compared to Avatar, compared to the others. I'll be honest, from an out-and-out range point of view, once the system is all settled and it has the MCS rates all settled up, it'll be comparable to the other systems. Where it will fall over at the moment and things is like penetration and stuff like that, in the sense of it doesn't have packet retries, so there are technical limitations in how it will behave. The O3E units are on sale at Flywoo. Yeah, Earth Cubes eventually, there's a range for everything. 100%, as Super Deluxe says. Yeah. It's, you know, the one thing to take into account of it's unlikely to beat Avatar HD, which people have done 40 kilometers plus with. Yeah, there are other projects, Ruby FPV, which will do retransmits. Again, look, it's really the first thing comes into this is how interested are you in DIY in this? Because if you're not, don't go near it. It's that simple. If you're not interested in DIYing, just stick to DJI, just stick to Avatar HD. Why are people hyped for OpenIPC but not Ruby FPV? You got to take into account, OpenIPC is replacing the firmware that is on the cameras. Ruby wasn't open source. Take that into account as I understand it. Now, I know there was talk of Ruby moving to open source, but I don't know if that has now happened. It's open now. Yeah, I know it was moving that way. I do know Ruby is sort of tightly linked to OpenIPC. You know, the Ruby development does post, developer does post a lot on OpenIPC as well, and he's contributing bits back and forth. So I think the two will probably come up together, is what you'll now see. The real simple thing today is, if you're not interested in a lot of bench time messing around, this isn't for you. That's really simple. Because, you know, you are building ground stations, doing this, doing that. If you're interested in doing that and playing with that, it's great. If you're only interested in flying, and again, I do wonder in the end, and I still have this, and I've used this wording in conversations before around Express LRS. One of the reasons Express LRS is just so cheap is because the software is being done for free. Now, that is the case with OpenIPC as well. Runcam selling this board for $70. Why? Because the software is free. And software development is one of the most expensive things of any project. Now, as any open source project develops and over time, you are going to have to see costs increase, because otherwise you're just relying on cheap Chinese hardware that doesn't really contribute to the project. And this is where over time it gets complex and pricing becomes challenging. You know, if you take today Avatar HD, you know, you can't knock CADX for what they've done here. They might not have delivered a receiver or a bag with their goggles, but add to cart. We can get an Avatar system today. Which one should we go for? We don't want the Mini 1S. I'm just looking at the pricing. 2 seconds. So, I don't want to go a limited system. I want to go a full system So let's go for that one there. For 109, you can get a full power Avatar HD system for $308. Now, there is no question OpenIPC is coming in below that today. Absolutely. No question. Absolutely is. You are talking with the NVR potentially sub $100, but also take into account your time. Time is not free. As much as some people think it is, time is not free. So you've got to take that into account. If you want to just go flying, I'll be honest, that is the best deal out there today. It is moving forward, though, and they are pushing ahead. It is going to mature. You know, there's lots of things happening, like the Betaflight OSD is there now. It's a bit quirky, but it's there. Give it a year, right, from where it is today. Give it 12 months. You'll probably have a goggles-based module for maybe, I don't know. It's sub $100. Let's just say you're going to have a goggles-based module off the shelf, probably for $100. You'll have the ear units for $100. So you're going to be talking $200. And someone's just said there, I've just purchased the Walk Snail Avatar VRX and Avatar HD kit for $219. See, that is incredible value. I forgot about that. So what are they charging right now? Yeah, here you go. You can get that kit with the 1S kit. Is it the 1S? Why is the price not changing? Oh, wait there. They're out of stock of the 1S kits, obviously. Video from ground station into goggles over HDMI. Yes, you can. Yeah, there are lots of options. Look, it's just, what are you looking for from a system? You know, and this is where it's important for me as a creator. Look, I decided 3 weeks ago to start afresh. Completely fresh with this project. Start again, look at all of the hardware from scratch, look at everything from scratch, and it's definitely moving forward at a rapid rate. Definitely moving forward at a rapid rate. But my job is also to make sure you understand the truth, and the truth as I see it, and my honest thoughts of where it is today. And look, it's not for me to... My job is often at times to balance what I know the users are capable of doing based on the feedback I get on my channel. And I have a channel of a lot of very tech people, but some of this is well beyond them. I'm not saying it's hard, but it is well beyond a lot of them. Quest 3 does support it as well. I don't agree the hills of FPV. In my opinion, if OpenIPC becomes more user-friendly, it will destroy Walk Snail. I don't think it will. I don't think it will. OpenIPC will fundamentally still struggle from the fact of what a lot of open source projects do, of the variation of hardware, the variation of software and features. Cadex have done a very good job of delivering better than anyone options. So the 1S VTX, the big goggles, the small goggles, the analog input, this. Don't ever underestimate the importance of turnkey out the box. And I have said this for years. People criticized me ages ago for my comments on HD0. And the fact is, why is DJI still the most popular FPV system today? And the truth of the matter is because they often open they offer the simplest to use out-the-box solution that just works. And that is key. That is number one. If I had to add up how many hours of messing around on the bench I've had with this, and that's not bad. If you enjoy that, that's great. But there are payoffs in everything. M. Shagger said, a lot of people want open source for the sake of it being open source. CADX and DJI offer out-the-box solution. Yeah, agreed. DJI offers the best product there is still today. Not the most compatible, not the most... And look, I hope genuinely that DJI doesn't get banned, because it is bad for users. It is very bad for users if DJI get banned. Because don't trust CADX as far as you can fricking throw them, right? As a brand, I am telling you now, CADX are not your friend. DJI are not your friend. HD0 is not your friend, although Carl is the nicest guy in FPV as far as I'm concerned. Carl is amazing. But as a business, they're not your friend. But Carl in HD0 is as close to being a friend of FPV that exists. Okay? But these are all businesses. And here's another truthful thing. No one knows what the long-term plan is for OpenIPC either. Okay? Will it develop into something like Avatar? Will it develop into something like ExpressLRS? Will it develop into something that gets bought? Does it become more closed in the future? We don't know. Anything can happen. The project's developers, the project's maintainers don't even know where it will be in 2 or 3 years' time. We don't really even know what their goals are for the project in 2 or 3 years' time. For all we know, and here's the truth, and look, I want to be crystal clear. I am not saying this is the goal, but their goal here could be to make an open source project that remains open source forever and gives a cheap FPV to the community. Their goal, on the other hand, could be to build a product that gets swallowed up by a manufacturer to put a load of money in their pocket as quickly as possible. Both are absolutely as valid as each other. And I'm not saying one is another. The truth is, it will take time. And all of the very best open source projects go through a huge curve, an arc of changes and development. And just look at the people in charge of Betaflight today are not the people who are behind Betaflight. The evolution of iNav, the evolution of Betaflight, the evolution of OpenHD. ExpressLRS is actually the odd one in the sense of all of the main people are still there. They all like each other and they all don't act like a bunch of dicks. And frankly, apart from the bearded one, who likes to sniff incense oil and he sits there waxing his legs whilst rubbing oil into his beard, whilst massaging his dishes on his head. Other than that bearded one, the rest of them are not, the project is the same today as it's always been. And it's actually a miracle. It's a complete miracle that that project didn't implode, considering how fast it grew. How fast it grew. And here's something interesting. Another comment on DIY. How many users still DIY an ExpressLRS receiver today? How many people are really interested in the DIY side of ExpressLRS? It's a very small number. In the end, ExpressLRS very quickly moved into more commercial hardware, and that's where it's at today. So we don't know. The project's in its infancy, great potential, but who knows? I don't run breadboard ExpressLRS receivers. yeah, it's definitely a minority. So it's going to develop. Do I see a world where open source video is a part of FPV? Yes. Do I see a world of where open source video replaces the closed source solutions? I still firmly believe it is very unlikely. I still think in 5 years' time from now, DJI will still be number one. Avatar will still be doing stupid things to annoy people. HG0 will have taken steps forward, and OpenIPC and maybe others Ruby will all be part of that world, giving you options. Do I see them replacing Linux, replacing Windows? No. In 5 years' time, Justin, yeah, in 5 years' time, Avatar will have O3. And that's it. So, look, what we now actually have, though, is a push into open source FPV, a proper push into open source FPV. And this isn't it. OpenHD is still out there. I suspect we'll hear more from them soon. Imagine telling a DJI Avata pilot to bind Express LRS law. Mad, are you 100% sure? Yes. Let me just, before I even read your comment anymore, yes, I'm 100% sure the ham file works with Avata 2. The ham file works absolutely fine. DJI VTX version, Digi VTX version 1 when? I don't know. Where do I think FPV will be in 5 years? That's a hard one. That is a hard one. I think I saw some videos the other day which were quite scary. They were just showing, there was a news article about Russia using wire-controlled drones now. They were basically FPV quads controlled over control wire. So they were using like these the tubes with the wire in to stop them being jammed. And fiber optics, yeah. And it was just like, we're getting a lot of bad press. You'll never stop us. You'll never close off the industry. We might have to go underground a little bit. The truth of the matter is. But it won't end. It won't end. What is great is there's a lot of options out there. And, you know, look, I think it's now fair to say open source is beginning to make an impact in video. It's done it in control link, but there are still good closed source control links out there. You know, look, the world doesn't revolve just around Express LRS. There are things such as this. This exists. Ghost is still out there. This is the Orca remote with Ghost built in. There are other options out there that are still very good, you know. I'm missing something I was about to grab. For those who haven't seen this, I'll show you quickly, because I haven't seen it, and I will have a video coming on this. This is a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be when this came in. Now, this is the Orca controller. You could be one of the 6 people. That's not very fair. This was a lot bigger than I was expecting from the image. You know, when I saw this, I thought this was a lot smaller than it was from the images, but it's a chunky thing. I'm not saying it's bad in size either, because it's basically got full-size gimbals. But it is a fairly big remote. compared to the others. This is has Ghost built in, so it has the Ultra Light 24 module in the back. N64 vibes for sure. I tell you what I do like about this. So you got no screen or anything in this, but you can control this from a smartphone app. It's quite cool. It's got quite a solid feel to it. Plastic gimbals. I don't know. I've not torn it down. I don't know if they're pots. Bit of a rub feel on the throttle. It's not quite as smooth as that one. It probably wants a little bit of grease. A bit of the TBS grease, I will add. Controls-wise, you got your switches and buttons, just as you would expect. This is the Orca FPV controller. It's a few years old now. Quite interesting, though. You know, as a sim remote... Yeah, I need to have a tear down and have a look. It definitely feels like it wants a bit of grease on the slider. I suspect they've got the plate touch in. I don't know if you can hear it with it. I don't know how much you can hear, but there's a bit of a rub to it. That's all. It feels like it just wants a bit of lube, a bit of something. But there are lots of other options out there. You know, Ghost still is a popular control link used by many, you know, and look, don't underestimate, it's not on ratchet, it's on the smooth option. But don't underestimate, you know, Ghost did some stuff long before anyone else. There are dozens of us Ghost users. So, you know, the world doesn't just revolve around ExpressOS. There are lots of good systems out there, but it doesn't just revolve about ExpressOS. Anyone know an update on the DJI drone ban? My understanding is DJI have somewhat been taken out of the ban, and Chinese have been added. My understanding is it's now less about DJI and more about China. The DJI O3 discounted is on Flywoo. Have I flown the R5? I've barely flown anything this summer. Something I will talk about, and probably it's a nice subject actually before the end of the stream. The reviews have taken a lot of time up this year. And I am going to be making a bit of a change on the channel. I have said this before, and I'm still in the process of doing it. But the reviews have taken up too much time, which has taken me away from flying. I haven't been able to fly for enjoyment for months. I just haven't had time. Every time I want to go and fly, look, I envy Bardwell a little bit, because if you just see how much Bardwell's sort of taking a bit of a step back at the moment, I don't know what JB's up to. He's obviously doing some stuff. He's been away. Did he go live today? Did JB? Because I know he was talking about it, but I don't know if he did. The problem with reviews is this. And here's an example, and this is the thing with this Mario. It's very hard. This needs so much time of understanding before I even get it in the air to be able to give you a full understanding of the system, because I go into things that other people don't. And as a result of that, it just takes up so much time. I've barely flown this summer for me at all. If I've been out, it's to test a quad, it's to test an RC link, it's to test a remote, it's to test, I don't know, a battery, something. It's been the problem with doing this is it takes up your time, and that's just a reality. It's the truth of the matter. doesn't help. Yeah, the weather here has been horrific. Today was horrible. Today was really horrible here as well. It really wasn't good. It's just, it's every time you're doing something, this test. And it's not, I'm worse than I've ever been. I haven't even got the wing out I wanted to get out this summer. And I'm not going to get near it for 2 weeks. My plan at the moment is to try and get through everything that I've got and then stop for a bit. And I don't mean stop making content, but stop accepting new products, probably September, end of September. I think for a while, I'm going to stop accepting new products to talk about unless it's something very, very interesting so I can actually get some time on the stuff that I've got. And look, if something really interesting comes out, hey, if Cadex actually release a V2 system, who knows? Perhaps we'll do something. But I do think the problem with reviews is this. They're really interesting to do. They're enjoyable. But it does become a conveyor belt. What's the beef with radio reviews? There's no beef with radio reviews, but there is actually only so much you can say on a radio. I can give you an opinion, but look, sitting here and go, I don't ever want to become the channel, right, that does this. Hey, okay, so today we are looking at this new thing from Runcam. This has 2 boards. You've got this wiring harness and you plug it in and the camera. So let's plug it in. Oh, look at the video. That looks okay. Oh, look, that looks okay. Strap it onto a quad, fly it around a park, and then say, hey, I think it's fantastic. And this is really where it gets hard. I always try to put stuff in the video that you don't get anywhere else. The teardowns, the other stuff, but it takes time. It takes effort. And what you tend to find is everyone seems to sort of launch at the same time. And it's not that I don't enjoy doing reviews. I really do like doing reviews. But the channel has just become reviews, and that's the problem, because I'm not having time to do the other stuff anymore because something else has come in, a new flight controller, a new camera, a gimbal, and it's all interesting stuff. We've actually had some really cool stuff this year. The C20 gimbals, the Cadex gimbals, the Goggles L, all of that is really good. But reviews take over. They do take over. And look, and all that happens is this. Look, the truth of this is you get big to a point. We're nearly at 60,000 subs. And now it just, you get so many people message, brands come out to you. Oh, we want to send you this. We want to send you that. Nothing I do on this channel is paid. So I don't take money from anyone on this channel. Nothing is ever paid. No one said, I never am in a position where I go, this company has paid me $1,000 to talk about this. It doesn't happen. It doesn't exist. Everything is my choice. Oh, I think this is interesting. And there's some brilliant brands I've got to work with on this channel. Fantastic ones, such as Radio Master, Cadex, I have to say. As much as I keep telling them off, they keep coming back and talking to me, which I really appreciate. As much as I have a go at Cadex, what I can tell you is they are a brand that does listen. Not all of the time, but they do listen. I also like to have a go at DJI and poke them with a stick. And there's some cool stuff that I've been talking about and having a look at, but the reviews take over. The reviews really do take over, and you get to the stage where you find it hard to talk about the stuff. That's the problem. Why the beef with Orca? Orca makes some good products. Would you take an understudy? Yeah, it's... Look, the channel didn't start as reviews. It shouldn't be all reviews. That's what I need to get back to. It's just... You tend to find the Chinese have been pushing quite a lot out recently. And I love all of the companies I work with. I appreciate it. But I also have to... There has to be something in it for me, if that makes sense. And that's where it's hard when you're talking about a flight controller. What flies better, the Avata 1 or 2? It's like saying which flies better, a pig or a turd. If you throw them both, they'll fly. The Avata 2 is a little bit better, but it's got some quirks. This is why you got to switch to Enterprise. Hair products. A pig or a turd. If you float, yeah. The Avata 2 is a good drone. It's just not a freestyle drone. Controlling performance is a hard one, Gadget. Look, people have said about, controlling, Express LRS performance. Or like, you can deep dive into that. Look, I fly 250 hertz on everything. I don't really see... UAV Tech has some unbelievable videos on the controlling stuff. I'm not sure there's really that much point deep diving into. That's why the depths of jitter on Express LRS at 200 hertz versus this. I largely look at an RC link that just works enough for me, and as I said, I've really not flown enough this year. I flew the other day and I was astonished how bad. I can't do sims. I've said this before, right? I can't fly sims. I get sick of it as a dog on a sim. So I can't sim. Yeah, I set 400 hertz on the radio most of the time. Or whatever it comes up from the factory. I don't mess with the control link too much. I can't fly sims because looking at the screen or goggles, I get sick as a dog. I have this quirky, I can fly FPV all day long and not get sick. Look at a freaking set of sim on a goggles, sim on a display, and I end up wanting to barf after 5 minutes. And I feel rough for about 6 hours. Honestly, I just don't understand it. There is something in the frame rate of goggles, of sims, that just gets me. I don't know what it is. Honestly. Lack of haptic feedback. Yeah, it's weird. I do. Sims make me noise. Honestly, I get sick as a dog. Yes, computer monitor, goggles, I've tried them all. None of them make me feel okay. I just can't use it. I just can't. Honestly. And the worst thing is, I wouldn't mind if I felt sick, stopped, and felt okay. Honestly, if I start feeling it, it will wipe me out for 2-3 hours. I feel rough as shit for 2-3 hours. And that's why I can't do it. FPV games, it's because it's artificial. FPS. Make sure I'm not using motion blur. I've tried it on the HD0 goggles, the Avatar goggles. I've tried all of the sims. I own all of them. I've bought all of them. On the goggles, I'm running at 100 hertz. Yeah, I've never got over it yet, and it wipes me out for that. I feel rough as shit then, and that's the worst part. I honestly, it literally, it wipes me out. I'm from South Wales in the UK. Someone wants to go on my Discord and email me a message, a set of sim settings that I won't feel like a bag of shit. I would be rather happy. VR does. I don't really use it. My kids do. I've tried the Quest once or twice. How am I getting on with my Samsung? Well, Michael, genuinely, I have zero regrets. I swapped to Android. I'm happy. The only thing I miss is my AirTags now. And I know Samsung have got them or Android have got them. That's the only thing I miss is my AirTags. Literally, that's it. I am incredibly happy with this purchase. I tell you what I have noticed is just how much better the bloody cameras are as well. Really, though, but why not do commercial stuff? There's not really a lot on the commercial stuff that I can talk about. And look, when I'm talking about reviews, guys, I'm not stopping, but I need some time to delve into some stuff. Doing a review for the Samsung? No. An Apple device that just handles AirTags is what I need. Yeah, well, I'm now finding this quirk. So I have AirTags on various things that I own, including my car keys. But unfortunately, because I am not using my iPhone, right, it now thinks it's lost at times and starts randomly pinging. So I really wish you could use Apple AirTags with Android. And it thinks, especially if there's another iPhone around, it starts pinging. What I probably need to do is sync them to my wife's iPhone. Is probably what I need to do. Have you tried looking around? Yeah, the front cameras on the DJI goggles are not fun either. I don't have as much flight time on the Goggles 3 as I do the Goggles 2, as I get, partly because I haven't flown that much this summer. Most of my flight time is testing. Most of everything I've been doing is testing. What I can say is, so coming up this week, I've got 2 videos coming on the setup of the Caddx gimbals with regards to updating the firmware. And I can't remember what the other one is. There's 2 for that, and I don't know why. Anywho. There's videos coming on the Caddx gimbals. There may be some other videos if I get out flying tomorrow. I've got to start looking at these from SkyStars. SkyStars sent me 2 flight controllers and ESCs to have a look at with AM32. I just haven't had time. And I want to try and get past the rest of the testing on OpenIPC because it's taking a lot of time. You know, the testing is taking a lot of time. But that's just the reality of doing this, basically. Right. I'm going to wrap this one up there, guys. I want to thank you for spending some time for me tonight. It's getting ridiculously hot on you now, and it's nearly midnight. Look after yourselves. Stay safe. We should be back same time, sex. I don't lose interest in flying. It's just finding time to it. That's the problem. My problem is I am a person that I'm very committed. So if someone sends me something, I always try to talk about it. And that's the problem. Anyways, look after yourself. Stay safe. I will be back same time, same place next week. Thank you to everyone for the super chats. Please do consider checking out the Patreon as well as buying me a coffee. Look after yourself. Stay safe. I will speak to you soon. Oh, look. 2 buttons. Why 2 buttons?